went to the Culty Church, Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. So here is what I think about prophecy, healing, signs, wonders, speaking in tongues, and all of that good stuff now. So let's start with prophecy. Obviously, given the fact that a false prophet / con man said that I was being given to my ex-husband, who literally almost unalived me, it should come as no surprise that I am not a big fan of prophecy. I think that the charismatic church is heavily flawed, and that Bethel's entire idea that literally every single person can prophesy and that God is always talking is so incredibly harmful, and it can't even be measured how much damage their prophetic culty movement has done. I was literally talking to a woman the other day who said that her friend is in an abusive marriage, but somebody gave a prophetic word about her and her husband and what they were going to do in the next year, and now she feels like she cannot leave because of this prophecy. So it can be very not good, let's just say that, and I'm not a big fan of it. I would prefer if everybody just very much stay away from it. Now, as a Christian, do I think that God can talk to people? Yes. And this is where it gets very nuanced, and I'm still working these things out. Like, as I am telling you guys what I believe, I do not know if I will believe the same thing a year from now. I'm very much still in this process of figuring out what I believe. But my dad had always told me this story, and let me tell you right now, my dad is not in charismatic circles, like not Pentecostal, so this is not really his vibe. He's not about prophecy. But when we were younger, some lady at his church ended up coming up to him and said, hey, I just really, like, God told me, or I really felt like God was telling me that you were going to get a job opportunity, like, thrown into your lap that is really going to help your family. And I think it was like a week later, my dad got a call to ask if he wanted to be the principal for a summer school, which like greatly saved them at the time because my mom was pregnant and they were in desperate need of money and were like living off of gas station food. So do I think that that lady heard from God? I think that there is a fair chance that she heard from God. So that kind of makes me feel like, well, maybe it's real. I don't know, guys, but I don't like it. And I'm not a big fan, and I don't really want anything to do with it just because of my trauma and my history, and I'm keeping things very basic at the moment. Next, do I believe in speaking in tongues? I don't believe that I ever spoke in tongues ever. Like, I think I was speaking gibberish, and I think that these churches are extremely toxic when they put people in a room and they say, you know, don't come out until you are speaking in tongues, or they hold these sessions where they say, we are going to activate you in speaking in tongues. I think it's very performative, it's very fake. Now, on the other hand, I have also had people reach out to me and say that they have deconstructed and they are no longer charismatic, but they still find themselves speaking in tongues and they don't know why. And that they feel connected to God when they do it, and they genuinely just feel like it pours out of them. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know the entire scope of humanity. So I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody, hey, that's not real, because I don't know what you're experiencing. So I think that there is a good chance that speaking in tongues is real. I never personally did it, but it's not for me, you know. And I think somebody said that in the Bible, it says that not everybody is going to. So I don't even know where Bethel got that idea from. But I will say, I also have another story about a family member. My grandpa, he was the most stern man, guys, like super put together, super tough guy, right? And like not performative at all. And he had told us that one day he was in worship and all of a sudden he was just speaking in tongues. Like, he wasn't thinking about speaking in tongues. It just like literally came out of his mouth. And I don't believe that my grandpa is a liar. So yeah, I don't know. Not for me, but you know, if you feel like it's your thing, I 100% respect differing beliefs and people's experiences, because I don't know everything. Do I believe that God can heal? I believe God can heal. I am very much in the midst of, does God heal? I don't know. Not in this performative way that Bethel does it, where it's like their entire ministry to worship, signs and wonders and all that sort of thing. I can't wrap my brain around why God would heal some people and not other people. That doesn't really make any sense to me. Like when you see people, they say in church, like, my leg grew out, or, you know, like, I had some hip pain and it went away and God healed my hip. I'm kind of like, why would God heal your hip and let a child die of cancer? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me, that God was like, yes, the hip is super important. But God can do whatever he wants. So I don't know. I take more of the approach that I think it's more likely that God doesn't like interfere in a way. But I've also heard crazy stories that make me believe that he does sometimes, and I don't know why. I also don't know if it's the power of the human mind. I think that that's like a big thing too. The power of belief is very, very strong. Another thing, like I said in my story before, I had fibromyalgia when I was with Ted, and I was constantly in chronic pain, and I was so upset that God was not healing me. In hindsight, how do I say this in a way that might be easy to understand? I find my fibromyalgia to be a gift in hindsight. I think that my body was screaming at me, and I genuinely think that it is so cool that our bodies are able to process emotion and send out alerts saying, do not do this, you know, and I think that it was a sign for me to leave to protect me. So obviously I wasn't going to like be healed of this while I am still in this relationship, because it was being caused by this relationship, by the stress that I was under. But like I said before, these are just my personal opinions, and I am still in process. I do not know that I will be believing these exact thoughts a year from now. I am very much on a journey, and I am taking my sweet time. All I know is that I love God, and I am trying to do my best to be a good person and love everybody around me. And yeah, just fight for human rights, because I feel like that is very Jesus, to be honest. And I will leave it at that. So in the next part, I am going to jump back to Ted and talk about the woman that he terrorized after me, because he ended up dating someone after, and she ended up reaching out to me because she saw some of my posts on TikTok, and it is crazy how similar our stories are. So follow for the next part.